our roving studio at the moment, and I'm talking with Kelly Ahuja from Cisco. Kelly, good to see you. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Martin. Happy to be here.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you to begin with about network transformation. We hear an awful lot about business transformation, network transformation going hand in hand. There's been a lot of emphasis over the past 20 months, growing to pretty much of a crescendo now, about cloud, about SDN, software-defined networks, and about NFV, network functions virtualization. How do you think these new technologies are going to help Cisco help your customers?
So a very good question, Martin. And if you take a look at our customers, first we always have to start with our customers. What they're looking to do is to really move at an unprecedented speed. They need the agility to be able to come up with services fast and be able to roll them out quickly. They almost need to offer them as a service on demand or network on demand. They want to be able to reduce their cost to serve, and they want to be able to drive their revenues up. So if you put all that together, they have a lot of tools that are available to them. And SDN, NFV, cloud, orchestration, are all these tools that they can use to achieve a business purpose. And that's what they're really trying to do. Why? Because the current network environment that we hear from our customers about is extremely complex for them to be able to move at the rapid speed that they need to. The IT infrastructure that's required to create and operate and manage these services is even more complex. So they're trying to simplify, they're trying to modernize the network to be able to simplify it so that they can get to these speeds and services that they're looking for. So SDN, NFV, orchestration and cloud are just tools that they want to be able to leverage to drive it. What we're at Cisco doing is taking all of these capabilities and turning them into a business value that we can bring to our customers. So how are we doing that? Well, we're leveraging all of our assets with ACI in the data center, with NFV in the WAN, all the way out to the CPE, and stitching that together to something that our customers can take to their customers. A service through a portal, the ability to be able to click and provision things that they would want to without ever touching a configuration tool or anything like that. Just a portal-based kind of a configuration where they can turn off a request new service and it gets turned on and provisioned very quickly and easily. So that's how you turn all of these tools into a business advantage that our customers can leverage and take to market.
So those are a set of tools. They can be used, they can be reached for and used and applied anytime a customer wants to do so. With those tools, what kind of new services and applications do you think will come about and transform the network?
Well, very good question again. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making money, right? For the operators and for anyone else. So what they can do, for example, today the service providers are looking to be able to grow their top line. And one of the big segments that's really been untapped is the small and medium enterprise. To be able to go after the small and medium enterprise requires a very massive in the traditional model of Salesforce, to be able to go out and touch those customers, ask what they want, and the time to provision those services can be very long. By being able to leverage cloud and SDN and NFV, what they can do is they can offer these services through a portal. They can go and tell the SMBs or small and medium businesses to come to their portal and just request the service that they want. Price might be small, but the volume could be potentially very large. And if you can do it at the right cost structure, you can actually make some very good profit margins on it too. So driving the customer base, driving the, in the provider world, it's all about number of customers and the revenue per customer. So driving the number of customers and revenue per customer this way can provide some pretty profitable business for them.
As data use across networks increases phenomenally, the amount of video information and packets crossing the networks now are astonishing. Now traditionally all networks have had pressure points, they've had bottlenecks, and as new technologies arrive, the bottleneck may dissipate, but it reappears, it pops up somewhere else, and oh look, there's another bottleneck. I'd like to talk to you briefly, Kelly, about, in the context of SDN and NFV, I'd like to talk about OSS and then BSS. Do you think, given the nature of network transformation that we're seeing, that the next pressure point, the next pain point, is going to be that back office or previously back office function, which is now more and more in the limelight of OSS and BSS?
Well, actually, I would tell you that it already is. It's already a bottleneck. And it's not so much that it's a technology bottleneck, it's just a timeline bottleneck, because any new service that an operator wants to do, any product marketing person from an operator, the first they have to talk to the IT folks, because that's where most of the time and most of the money goes in turning up these services. And the network part is, relatively speaking, much simpler and easier, even though it's complex. So that's critical today, and we have to simplify the ability to turn up these services. That's why doing these things through portals and a lightweight OSS is critical for the operators, because they don't want to tie this to the traditional OSS models that they have. And the BSS, even the BSS is not that simple these days either. And those businesses require a lot of resources and a lot of investment, which is where the operators are trying to figure out how to be able to leverage most of the investment that they can do in the network and automate things to be able to make that more lighter weight and less complex for the IT teams to be able to go drive.
Okay, thank you. Now, one thing I've heard from Cisco and around Cisco in recent months is the notion of the cloud VPN. Can you tell us in some detail what that is?
Sure. So first of all, as you know, VPN services have been around forever.
Yep.
And they're very trusted by the enterprise community to be able to offer them a secure way of communicating or connecting their sites, whether it's their sites or even their people through when they're kind of traveling. So traditional model has been either premise-based VPN services, where a customer at a branch office gets a router, a CPE device, and then there's a VPN connection, whether it's on an MPLS service or a layer 2 service, and that's connected all the way through the network. As we've looked at that evolving, to be able to drive the cost to serve down and also the agility of what's required to be able to add on additional services on top of that to the basic VPN, how do you attach a firewall? How do you attach a session border controller capability? How do you attach a collaboration service? All those require a lot of hand-holding and stitching by the operator, which makes the cost to serve go higher. By offering this service from the cloud, meaning you can have a lightweight CPE where all of the VPN capability as well as these functions could be available from the cloud, to a heavyweight CPE where all these functions could be on-premise or in the cloud or something in between as well. We're having a broad offering for our customers to be able to choose from, and what they can do is they can leverage the cloud to be able to attach these services quickly and very effectively. So at the end of the day, what it's going to result in is almost like the enterprise is getting IT as a service from the service provider, which is a very interesting kind of a way for them to get to a fast IT model, because the traditional IT model in the enterprise is not necessarily fast, not because what the IT group doesn't do, but when they have to get things done with the operators, it takes too long. So we're trying to shorten that cycle and get to this fast ID notion or an IT as a service notion through this cloud VPN construct that we're building.
Okay, thank you. Let's change the emphasis and the subject slightly. It's still obviously very applicable, which is the Internet of Things. I know that Cisco has just conducted a major study into the Internet of Things, and I know from my own reading, I can't remember which analyst it was, which analyst house, but the notion is that by 2020 there will be at least 26 billion things, M2M things, whatever they may be, attached to the Internet within the next 6 years, 5.5 years, basically. It's obviously going to have an immense impact on networks. What did your study consist of, and what did it conclude?
Sure. So first of all, our study indicates that there's a $19 trillion of value that is remaining to be captured by everyone, all of us, whether it's service providers, equipment vendors, or businesses, that's at stake through IoT, which is a tremendous amount of value. Now, if I translate that to back a few years, do you remember the days when e-commerce was just something that was coming up and doing business on the internet was just still a new thing? Well, imagine we're at the same stage now with the Internet of Everything. We see this momentum coming, and there's tons of value that can be created that all of us can capture, and that's a very important opportunity for both the service providers, the businesses that they serve, as well as for the vendors that provide technologies and capabilities to both of those.
So what's the strategy for Cisco to capitalize on that, to exploit it?
Great. So there's a few things. The first thing is we're actually focusing on a few verticals when it comes to Internet of Everything. And those verticals are very important, and we're going after the verticals where there's most value in it for our customers. And what does value mean? Well, it could be for that in some cases there's value for the enterprise. A connected energy system, for example, could provide a lot of benefit to the enterprise that's trying to manage energy cost. But to the service provider, there's also value in some service offering that as well. So we have a team that's focused on driving these vertical markets and solutions for those IoTs that go talk to the businesses and educate them on what IoE can bring for them. Then we have a team that goes to the service providers, because all of these enterprises that are going to buy these IoE services are really going to want a network on demand. So we have to work with the operators to help them build the capability to offer a network on demand service that the enterprises can use to connect to their devices when they want to. So that ecosystem has to be built out collectively. So what we're doing is working with the enterprise, and then we're working with the service provider. So what I call that is the demand side and the supply side, and bringing them together, much like we've done in the past.
How quickly is the demand for the Internet of Things ramping up? Do you see it climbing steeply, or are people still saying yes but not yet?
Well, you know, it's surprising because what we're seeing in the business is that is rising extremely fast. We're seeing different verticals move at different paces. You know, there's a lot of activity around the connected car. There's a lot of activity around healthcare. There's a lot of activity around the manufacturing, and so all those pieces are starting to move and move quite fast. And you know, I think it's going to take a little time for it to really reach an explosion, just like it did with the e-commerce stage. But we're in the early stages of that, and the opportunity is right for all of us to participate in it now.
A final question, and back to SDN, network transformation, etc. Again, basically the same question, Kelly, is how quickly are you at Cisco seeing demand for cloud, and within the cloud, SDN and FE ramping up? We've seen the hype curve, we've seen the change from informative to normative, we're seeing the next phase developing. How quickly is that happening?
Well, I'll tell you, the interest from the business is high, very high. But the capabilities that they need to be able to leverage those in the operational side and the engineering side are still lagging. So what we're finding is that if we can go to an operator with the ability to offer this capability through a managed service offering, much like we do with our Meraki offer, that's actually of very high interest, and that's moving very rapidly. But when it requires the SPs to be able to go change their processes or their operations procedures or their engineering principles, that's taking a little longer. So for that concept, some of these services are getting adopted quite quickly, but when it comes to NFV, a lot of proof of concepts in play in many operators. They're trialing it, testing it, and figuring out where they want to use it, but that's taking a little while to ramp up.
Strategy, as far as Cisco is concerned, you obviously have to consider this very carefully. You see the changes that are happening in the market. Sometimes they are very apparent, sometimes not so. Sometimes it's based on technology, and sometimes it's based on consumer demand for a technology that doesn't yet exist. How do you strategize? How do you differentiate and say, we're going to follow this route rather than that one?
Well, and that's been a shift, because in the past, you know, we would innovate for the sake of innovation. We would come up with technologies just because we thought it was a cool idea. Well, that's no longer the case. And we've learned from our customers that it's always about the customer, the user experience, and how we can modify and change that. So we're starting from our customer's customer in, and then figuring out what's required to be innovated, not just in products, but in the solutions, in the offers that we bring to market, and how we package them with different consumption models to be able to make that much more available for the end customer.
And does that mean you're cooperating more with partners, with erstwhile rivals? Is it, you know, things have changed. No longer, certainly as far as service providers are concerned, will you go to a service provider and they will say, we are a one-stop shop for everything you're going to need in communications. We can do it all. Those days are finished.
Absolutely.
And now it's about cooperation and partnership.
Right. Well, it's a new world, and openness is absolutely important. And you have to have open systems, open platforms that are extensible, that not just serve one purpose, but they serve multiple purposes. And you have to be able to interoperate with competitors and be able to have partners. And you can't build it all yourself, so you have to rely on a partner ecosystem or development ISV type capability to be able to bring in different technologies, to be able to package and to offer to customers what they need. So that is the new world, and yes, we're living in it now.
Well, it's an interesting world.
It is.
Kelly Ahuja, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.